I'm stuck where I was at the beginning again. Like I made a good money at my job, but then I wasn't happy. I care about what you guys have to say, but I don't care anymore. Every trader has their own unique set of rules, and then there's a universal set of rules that they all have.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Trading Takes, presented to you by Investors Underground. And the three of us, we're back. I think this is the first time in probably a month that the three of us recorded.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a great time on holiday, although apparently it's shanking balls, which, to be fair, obviously golf balls, you were correct. I did end up playing on holiday, much to the disgust of my girlfriend. She's like, you want to play again? Yeah, well, anyway, I did. Right, let's get on with the show tonight. We've got tons to get through. And tonight's guest, he's usually the person asking the questions. He's an absolute legend who's interviewed hundreds of the most successful traders. He also trades himself. It is, of course, Alex B. The Story. How you doing, Alex?
Hey man, I'm doing good. I'm doing really well. Can't complain.
Good. Welcome to the show. It's good to have you on. Thank you.
Hey, thank you guys for bringing me on. So I really appreciate it. I watch you guys, and I just appreciate you bringing me on. So thanks, guys.
Of course. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just thought, I know you sometimes sometimes you are the star of your own show. We just thought it'd be fascinating to find out a little bit more about you. And just by way of introduction, just in case people don't know who you are, I've seen how many views your videos get. So I think a lot of people do know who you are, but just in case, just perhaps a brief, introduction.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. At the end of the day, I've been trading for 7 years, going on 8. And I quit my job 3 times. I started in 2016, quit cold turkey when I discovered trading, failed that whole year, went back to corporate life at the exact same, actually a competitor. They picked me up, exact same salary. So I got lucky. Thanks be to God for that. And then I quit again because I saved up money and failed again. And then went back to work. And then after about 6 months, I quit again. And that was 2019, November, and I haven't looked back. And that's when I found what worked for me. Started trading 2020, 2021, 2022 were like the profitable years for myself. But 2022 is when I started to taper off of small caps and really start to explore in big caps. And in 2023 is when I really honed into big caps. And then now 2024, I do both.
Nice. That's awesome. So if we go back to 2016 then, because we touched on just before we started recording, I watched the video of you and your wife, and I know you had a really successful career before trading. What made you want to drop all that and pick this up?
That's a good question. For me, I was constantly chasing money at the beginning, and it's probably why I'm so adamant about focus on process. I hate talking about money now just because I feel like it puts you in the wrong state of mind and it creates unhappiness no matter where you are in your life. And for me, I was so focused on money back then. I grew up and then, not very well off. And so, but my dad worked really hard and worked us up to the medium class, which was really nice to see us get up to the medium class. And when we did that, I was like, okay, cool. In my head, I want to make 6 figures. So I grinded at my job, which was a sales job and physician recruitment. And I did that for, 6 years on LinkedIn. It's for a long time, over 5 years. And I dialed $100 a day every single day. It's insane. $100 a day every single day. I did not let up. There was no ifs, ands, or buts because I wanted to get to the top. And I wanted to be the youngest partner, which I became the youngest partner in the firm. I think I was 25, 26 at the time. I don't really remember the age. But at that moment, I finally hit 200 at that moment. And that's when I was focused on that. And I was unhappy. We were traveling, doing a lot of things. I was happy in my life with my wife and stuff. But going to work every day was just kind of dreadful for me. And I was like, man, I don't really care about making money anymore. What I care about is being happy in the long term. And at the end of the day, I kept on closing my eyes and just asking me this question. I was like, if I was laying in my deathbed, what would I be upset about? And it would be not going after what I want to do, period. And so that's why I kept going after trading and quitting, trading and quitting, because I knew no matter what, I'm never going to stop. So I think that answers your question.
No, absolutely. And it's actually genuinely amazing, like how similar that is to my story as well. In terms of, I was in sales. I sold hips and knees, as in like the prosthetics, and I had an absolute blast with it for like 10 years. And then genuinely, I can't remember. I was listening to a podcast. Oh no, I think it might have been David Goggins actually, and he was talking about like when you like the idea of getting to heaven and meeting God. And then he's like, there's this version of you that could have done this, and the version of you. And I was like, the version and the pathway I'm taking probably isn't the version that I want, that I think God will show me that was me at my happiest and all of that. So I was like, yeah, I need to change. And yeah, I quit. I managed to just quit once.
Good for you, bro.
Luckily, I love the resilience of to do it 3 times. So it's hard. Like I remember I've touched on this before on the show, but I wrote my notice out, my resignation letter, and I put it on my wall in my study. So I started trading then, and every morning I would just look up to it, and I'd put the date in advance, and I was like, that was hard to do it. So to do it 3 times, that's incredible.
It gets easier.
I think most people who quit have the idea of coming back. Like they quit, try to figure out how to make the money to come back into the market. Once they're able to, they come back, and the same. It's like cycling until you get it right.
Yeah.
I kind of figured though that like the first time like is quite tough, and there probably are a lot, like I don't know how many of your like original friends from back in 2016 are going, but like hardly, I don't know many of my original friends. I don't think any of them are going. So I think like they've probably obviously all gone back into that corporate life, and well, none of them have come back. So it's amazing that you've done it well so many times.
Yeah, we were just talking to Ed Barry, and he was telling us that he had a similar experience where he tried trading and leaving his corporate job, then had to go back. And he said that it wasn't until he like tried again, and it might have been a 3rd time, he didn't realize how close he was to like kind of cracking the code or like finding consistency. And it's kind of like that analogy of like someone digging for diamonds, and it's like they stop like 6 inches from the jackpot. And I think that that's really true. So like, what's your current style now? What was that last little bit that you had to figure out in order to make it consistent?
So that was in 2019 when right before I quit in November, I went back to work, right? And I went back to work, I think it was for like, you can do research and find out exactly, but I was either 3 to 6 months, but we'll say in between those time period. Because I only went for a short period. I remember because my friend at the time, he became the CEO, and he brought me back. And I left after like 3 months, 6 months, and he was like, "Come on, bro! Like, what are you doing? Like I just brought you back. Like, why would you do that to me?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, man. I'm never going to come back. Period. Don't hire me again. Like, I'm just not coming back. Like, it's just not going to happen." And there's actually a long story behind that. Like, I tried to get them to start a podcast. I created one in healthcare, and it blew. Like, we started to grow, and I was like, maybe I could do this for what I like to do. And so I tried to pitch to my company and say, "Hey, let me do this for you guys full time, and I'll just trade on the side." And they're like, "Nah, we don't believe in the podcast." And I was like, "Okay, I'll just do it for myself." And I left. And that's when I left, and I created my show, as well as trading. So I think like for me, what really switched for me is like right when I went back to work, and the 3rd time I went back, the shortest time. When I went back, I decided to go back because like I was break even that 2nd year. Whenever I went back, when I quit the 2nd time, I was break even that whole 2nd attempt. And so I really was like, man, like maybe I need to get a job to like help me like alleviate this pressure, because like I know what I need to do now, but like I'm break even. Like I can't get out. I keep on like in consolidate. I peak out a little bit, fake breakout, and then come back down. Like it just kept on happening. And then as soon as I decided, you know what, I'm going to get my career back and make some good money on the side. And hopefully I can get what I was making before and just hopefully alleviate some of this pain and just go for it. And so as soon as I made the decision, before I even got the job, like I immediately started trading way better because I wasn't even thinking about making money anymore, because I knew I had this big income job waiting for me that was going to come in and make up for everything, So I was like, okay. So I started to just trade on execution, right? Like focus on executing well. That's all I kept telling myself. And I only traded 2 patterns at that time. That was pretty much everyone knows these patterns, but it's the overextension play, something that runs for multiple days, first red day type of move. That's evolved over time, But back in 2016, it was very, very clean, very simple. And then, or 2019, and then the other play was the first gap crap, like just day one gap crap. And that was much easier back then compared to this now. I don't even trade that really anymore. So, but really is whenever I got that job, it alleviated that pressure for myself. And I was able to just focus on the process itself of executing. And then that's when I started to find success and consistency. And then it's just started going.
Sounds like a lot on the short side.
It was
On
all
most of the
short
extended
side,
names.
bro. It was all short side at first. I couldn't long for shit. I couldn't long anything. But now I love longing. So
Oh, good. So I definitely want to drill down into a little bit more about full-time trading, because I think you're going to be such a well. It sounds like you're the expert on on that subject. But just before we do that, just want to ask you. Obviously, you've interviewed. I mean, you must be hundreds now. I mean, if you were to add up all the money they've made, I mean, I'm sure it's an absolutely frightening amount. But like, is there like one piece of advice or an insight that you just keep hearing time and time again? Is there anything that like jumps out and stands out?
I wouldn't say I'm the expert, so I appreciate you saying that, but thank you for that. But I'm not an expert in any way. I'm always learning. I'm always trying to get better. But at the same time, like to answer that question specifically, I think what hits me the most is I was able to sit down with a lot of traders, like go hang out with them and sit down with them for the day. So I'm so thankful that those traders allowed me to do that. And also just, I believe in God, and I believe God's put me in a way where I can meet people, and I really appreciate that. And so with doing that, I've noticed some things. It's not what they told me. It's how they acted during the trading day and after. And so like I was able to see so many traders from traders who, had just become consistently profitable and they've been profitable for like a year, 2 years, to traders who've been profitable for 30 plus years, right? Just like you guys meet on the show, like Scott Manzo. Love that man. So what's unique though is like all of them face the exact same problem, no matter what level they were at. And that is, it's just how they handled it is really just how they handle making mistakes. It's like when they all make mistakes, like even Scott, I mean, he's been trading for 30 years plus. I mean, he'll be like, yeah, I might have overheld this a little bit. Yeah, it happens. Like, it's just more like that, right? Or I call another guy named Old Man Scott. He's another Scott. He's been trading for 30 plus years. He's really one of my mentors, helped me out so much. And he is the same way. Like, he's just like, like nothing, whether he makes good money or bad money, his demeanor is the exact same. It's just when he makes mistakes and when he loses money, he's not beating himself up so much. And like every trader I've met, when they're more on the new side, they're beating themselves up for an extended period of time. Mm-hmm. Whereas the further they get in the career, the ones who've been profitable for 5 years, they're still beating themselves up, but it might be for like 3 days. It might be for 2 days. They might even size down because they know that they probably should. And then the traders have been doing for 30 years, it's probably going to hit them for like an hour, like they're just able to come back faster, just like golf. Like we were talking about golf earlier. The pros, they hit bad shots all the time, but when they hit bad shots, it's like all bad shots after that. It's because they learn how to like recalibrate and be like, hey, it's normal. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to take losses. It's just how they handle that.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the most amazing thing about pro golfers, side note, is they will never let a bad shot lead to a second bad. Actually, if anything, their next shot is always like sublime, because you're like, how have they done that? They're in the rough or whatever. You touched on what they do like after hours or after the trading day. And I'm really interested in that because, I mean, what do you think is sort of, because I think there's like this perception perhaps that like 4 o'clock, done, I'll see you later, I'll come back tomorrow at 9 o'clock. But like the clues that like I think the three of us have seen from the the conversations that we've had is actually that's when the hard work starts a lot of the time. And I think a lot of the people, like the experienced people, like, and I've had like the privilege of seeing like Lance, for example. I've seen his notes that he makes in after a trading day. Like they're insanely detailed. I mean, put that question to you. Would you agree that that's what you've seen as well?
I think it depends on the trader. That's just my personal opinion. I mean, I've seen traders like I've met Lance. I love Lance to death. He's a great guy, and he is super like notes taken, but very, very discretionary in how he does things. But I love it, and he's very note. He's super like adamant on taking all the notes. And then I meet traders like Ducks, who is very like analytical, but all on stats, right, instead of discretionary. And then I meet people like Scott Manzo and Scott, old man Scott, who I call, and his name's Switterman on Twitter, and they still review, but it's probably not as in depth as the Lance, right? And then you have traders who are, who do spend all day. Like for myself, I review just my trades at the end of the day, and that's it. I'm not really spending hours and hours because I also run a business on the side, right? Like I'm doing multiple things. But at the same time, like I don't feel like there's one way for any trader. Because I mean, I hung out with Jack Kellogg, and sometimes he's just hanging out. Like we're just hanging out. Like it's the day the training's over. You've hung out with Nate. I'm sure some days he just hangs out.
I hung out with Jack as well. Jack, one morning, genuinely, me and Nate sat there. There's three of us trading, and me and Nate have got I had two monitors. Nate had two monitors, and genuinely, Jack just traded on his phone. Made literally made like 10 grand or something in half an hour. Then just said, "I'm going for a walk." And then we didn't see him until lunchtime. It was brilliant. Me and Nate just sat there, like, look, we just did everything. Oh man, it's incredible. No,
I think it just depends. Like if you constantly want to grow like a Lance, he's very competitive, very like I want to be the best. I want to be the best out there. Then you're probably going to hustle that much forever. But you can decide once you're at your level that you're comfortable with and stop doing that. Like you don't have to continually to grind that hard, because I promise you, there's a lot of traders out there who are not doing that much work anymore, but they had to get to where they are. And if they want to, progress further, they're going to have to do it again.
Absolutely. So, Chris, Judith, anything you want to jump in on there?
Yeah. So, Alex, all that being said, you said that your trading style adapted. You were doing small caps, then you were doing large caps. Now you've done both. You said you used to just basically short, but now you do short and long. What does your trading style look like day to day? Are you more discretionary? Are you more systematic? Are you mean reversion trending?
I would say I'm more discretionary, but at the end of the day, it all comes down from a top-down approach. So I'm always looking at just daily charts first. Like I look at daily charts and everything, and I'm looking for obvious levels that it makes sense to everyone, even the new trader. And so that way it's so easy to find. And then I look at different time periods to make sure that multiple time periods are seeing it at different levels. Maybe on the 1 minute we have, let's just say at $100 level, there's a key breakout, right? Something simple. Everyone knows a breakout, but how you trade it is very important. And if at the $100 level, they're on the 5 minute, 10 minute, 15, like it's also grinding very tight to that level. Like those are all those levels lining up, and it's actually setting up on the slower time frame at that level. Like that's simplistic terms, like what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that on big picture. Like I'm always looking on the daily first to find those levels, and then I fine tune it on the smaller time frames to find the entry. So it's daily breakouts, daily breakdowns. I ride trends all the time. Like that's something that I really love to do, as well as just other than that, just trend cracks and reversals, which I guess you could say mean reversion. But at the same time, like I don't call it that. I don't see it that way. I'm just waiting for a very beautiful trend that's been trending down for weeks, maybe months, and then it finally breaks to the upside. Like I'll play that. Something like.
Nice. Just as well, I really like how you do three, because I also can't do three that very well.
I can't either. Yeah.
Do this or this. I love it. And just on the last question on perhaps talking about like the show and the interviews, and you've touched on your trading there, and like I'm just like I think it's so easy to be influenced, and you're obviously with like some of the best guys, and like 1 minute you'll be chatting to like Jason Shapiro, and then it'll be Lance or whatever. Like, how do you remain like true to yourself, your process, and your setups?
I mean, truth be told, like I had struggles in that department for a while. I mean, I know Nate's brought that up to me. When I first met Nate, Nate would ask me that, like, man, how are you dealing with like talking to people and everyone has all their strong opinions and we're all different? And I'm like, at first I was like, it doesn't really bother me, like, because I was new then. I was like, but it did. It definitely, I think it helped and hurt it, right? Like I think in the long run, I'm so thankful for it. In the long run, it's helped me dramatically. But in the short term, it really hurt me because in the short term, I always start to judge myself. Like here I am, I think I'm doing very well, and I'm progressing, I'm sizing up, and I'm like, yeah, but then I go hang out with someone like Jack, and then I'm like, maybe I'm not doing too well, like, and so like I start to see those things, and then like they're great guys and they try to give you advice. So like, hey, why don't you hold that longer because of this? But it's not your setup. You know what I'm saying? So like I would sometimes try those things and take extra losses because I'm just trying new things that I'm learning from hearing what Lance had to tell me one day or hearing what Jack or whoever it may be, because I do respect those guys and I do want to understand what they see. So at first it was kind of rough, but over time, like now that I've like, I would say the middle of 2023 or near the beginning is when I kind of like never have like, you know what, but I will like, I don't care anymore. Like during the day, I don't care. Like at the end of the day, sure. But during the day, I don't care what you have to say. No matter what you say, you could be asked backwards on this play and I could be asked forward. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, it just doesn't matter. So I've learned that so many times. Like none of us know what's going to happen. None of us. Like I don't care who it is. Like they don't know what's going to happen ever. And so like it's finally been ingrained in me because I met so many people that, hey man, like these guys are just like us. Like they don't know. They're just playing their edge. That's it.
Yeah, I agree with what you were saying there. Like most people, don't know what's going to happen. I think we touched on this on previous episodes, but like everything is just risk, reward, and all rule based. And it's like, this looks like a good setup. It doesn't need to work. Most things don't, but it's like how you handle it, which determines the winner or the loser. And that's what Sam just brought up. I was going to ask you, like interviewing so many people, I wanted to know if anybody influenced you, but you said like at this point they don't. But how did you learn then, if not from, at least in your beginning stages, like interviews there, or like I was really thinking, like, was there not one piece that you're like, wow, this is really good, should I use it? And then it ended up working. Because like, you're hearing so many things every day, and I'm sure one of them, or at least, five, are intertwined with the way you trade or with your interests.
I think how I learned what I do now is at the beginning, small caps, like everyone else, like I was influenced. I bought a program from Tim Sykes and I kind of learned like a framework on that end. And then I kind of like, once I branched off and just did my own thing is when I started to find success, because I realized like that moment I was just chasing, following people. It was so hard for me not to ignore. That was the beginning of my career. But now, like what happened was, it's just luck, man. Like Scott, shout out to you, Swerterman. He reached out to me. I don't know what year he did, but he reached out to me, and I thought he was just some guy. Like I don't know who he was at first, and we just became friends over time. Always sharing trades. He was just sharing his trades, I share my trades, and then one year, I think it was 2022, where I think I had a month or so where I placed like 4 trades because I'm very disciplined. Like I'm not someone. I don't care about missing trades. Like I don't care about any of that stuff. But I used to all the time. Don't get me wrong. Like I definitely used to. And but like I would be super patient and wait, and I'd be proud of that. And he'd be like, "How many trades you make this month?" I made like 4 trades. And he goes, "I go, how many did you do?" And I would talk to him every day though, and I knew that he was placing 3 to 5 trades every freaking day. And I was like, here I am sitting here being patient, disciplined, waiting, but I'm only having opportunities 4 times this month because I'm so strict on my play. I need to figure something else out. And that's when he was trying to like show me just what he's trading. And he was like to show me all the tickers he traded and not go over on a call with me. He just send me the pictures of the dailies. And I'd be like, hey, I see all these. Cause I was still scanning every day. I was still trying to learn new stuff. I just never pulled the trigger on them because I was trying to be disciplined. And I was like, hey, I see all these plays all the time. You know what? I see that you're taking them at the levels that are interest to me. Let me try this out. And he just kind of started to become more of a mentor and be like, yeah, here's how you do things a little different from big caps to small caps, because that was a big learning curve. But the most influential person at the end of the day would be, I would say, Switterman, in terms of like really influenced me to be able to trade big caps and not be scared of them. And that was really good. I mean, that's changed my career for real.
Yeah, and just going back to the point earlier when you're talking about having so many great traders all offering like their advice, their tips, and everything, and it really reminds me of like if you were to go interview professional athletes who are all playing different sports, and they're all giving you their advice. And you could have a football player saying to, really like drop your center of gravity. You could have a swimmer saying to like work on your breath control. And it's like, you have to figure out what sport are you playing. And then, you build mentors and advice around that. But if you're just trying to mix every style and put it into one thing, a lot of times they contradict.
There's something to follow up on that, man, because you made a good point. And that is, there's also so many rules. Like for instance, I have rules that maybe I'm not going to trade after 11. However, someone else might have a rule that they trade all day. Like they don't care about the time period of rules like that. And like, I think that took me a long time to really understand, like every trader has their own unique set of rules. And then there's a universal set of rules that they all have. Right. And I think the universal set of rules, like we all are familiar with, but at the same time, like when you're new and you're learning, you start to mix the two. You start to be like, oh, like these rules that this guy uses for this type of trade, I'm going to use those rules for this type of trade because I think these rules are the universal and they're not aware. And they could really mess you up whenever you're trying to learn a new trading style. Because at the end of the day, everyone's rules are unique to them, except the universal ones like risk management, right? But like at the end of the day, rules are there for their setup specifically, I would say.
Yeah, and to add to that as well, I think like the beauty as well comes when you know when to break those rules as well. Like not trading after 11, for example, like that's like 9 times out of 10 is, I think that's, probably a rule that quite a few people adopt. But there will be times when actually you've got to trade after 11. Like you get like FFIE on Friday, for example. Like
it cracked at like 12.
Yeah, exactly. You turn your computer off at 11, and you expect to come back and it's like 5, and then you see it at 1, and you're like, what? Right?
Yeah, that's true. I think, but it's also better to just lay on the caution of just stop at 11, because at the end of the day, like that could teach you the wrong lesson on FFIE. Because like, yeah, sure, I'm going to wait for that. Maybe you do nail it, and then now you're waiting for the next one. Like because you're like, oh, it's after 11-ish. I'll try on this one. And FFIE is unique, right? It had massive volume, so therefore it's like trading at the open still, right? Like it has great momentum, that can great range. As long as you're aware of that, then yes. But if you're just like a new trader, I just stick to your rules. Like at the end of the day, just don't.
Yeah. Also, I like the point. Like you made the point of saying like you don't care about missed trades, and I think like a lot of people overlook that a lot, because every day there's a trade on the short side, long side, swing side, and day trade side, and for somebody that trades like gap ups or breakouts, it's a breakout on the daily or a gap up that could continue over days, but you could probably be profitable taking those trades for one day, like taking HIMS yesterday, selling it at the end of the day instead of swinging it for, a bigger move over the next few weeks or days. And same with breakout. Something breaks out, you could just take that breakout for the day and move on to tomorrow's breakout. And every day you keep moving on, because every day there is something else moving. So like that's also important, not to chase, not to beat yourself up over missed trades. Like FFIE was like on the short side, it was a great opportunity, but there's nothing you could do about it after. And all these things happening today, you could probably build up to the same amount you would have there, even though it's like it would have been a monster trade for people. I think like if you just move on and you focus on what's next, you'll make up for that and not even care. And it's a process over the year. It's not, you can't look at this in micro vision. It's got to be macro level, over weeks and years. It's building. It's like any other business. You need to build. You can't just become like, successful overnight like that.
I think it also is hard because I know I was thinking back while you were talking. When I first started, I only had like one setup at first, right? And that setup sometimes wouldn't appear. And I think it's hard for people not to pull the trigger and deal with the missed opportunities, because there's so far and few between, or there's only one a day, like literally for them. And if that's the case, and when they lose, they really judge themselves off the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what really helped me is I actually had I look over here, I have a blackboard. I would tally on the blackboard. At the time, it was a whiteboard when I had it at the time, but it's a blackboard now. But I would tally on it, so that way I knew how many trades I took. So I'm like, okay, this is one trade, but this is for the day, but this is only one trade out of the last 20. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, so I can like kind of keep it in perspective. because it depends on your strategy. Like now my strategy, like I at least see one good trade, I'm gonna pull the trigger on every day. So it's a little different. But like at the beginning, if it was only 3 trades a week, like I need to do something to combat that. And that's what I did.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point that like you have to be aware of how your variance plays out. And if you got someone taking, let's just say you got like Nate trading 15 names a day,
Yeah.
whatever he does, like he's gonna have red names on that list, right? And it's if some person, another person might be 15 in a week, and it might be 1 on Monday and whatever. Like you're absolutely right, and I think that leads on to like an interesting question because, like I said, that interview with your wife, the conversation was brilliant. Are you still? Can she tell if you've had a red or a green day by like the first thing you do when you come out of that office?
She tells me she can't anymore because she can see that I'm more confident in myself and I understand if I'm gonna like it's just part of it. So like we do talk on a regular basis, obviously, but like and we do talk about like I share with her with how things are going just because she's my wife, and she definitely has made a comment. I would say this year she made a comment about like, hey, it's interesting that you're not really super stoked when you're doing way well compared to last year, and you're not down like terrible or pissed off or upset or trying to bring that in the house when you don't have a good day. And that is something I was really working on, just making sure I detach completely. And so I was really happy about that. So she did make that comment.
I think that's such a big compliment as well to like the maturity of your trading. That like because I always think like because you don't want to take like whatever happens in for me in my office out into the rest of the house. I don't want to be that person. So I think that's just I'm not there yet, though.
At the end of the day, the traders, dude, we're in the hardest job ever. And we're supposed to lose. So I started to realize when at the 2019 when I had consistency and I started to make money, like all right, at the end of 2019 and all 2020, I was still never happy. Like I was still upset when I made money. I was still pissed when I lost. And even though I was consistent, because like, and then I was like, man, I'm stuck where I was at the beginning again. Like I made a good money at my job, but then I wasn't happy. So then I was like, I need to figure out, like, I love trading. So how do I stay happy doing what I do? And that's when I just started to focus on execution and judge myself off of mistakes. That's it. Like executed. Did I execute well? Yes. Okay, great. That's how I judge myself every single day. And even today, like I'm in 2 trades right now. And all I'm telling myself, like at the end of the day, when I go look at it, I'm just gonna be like, did I execute well? That means I did very well today. Because I can't control how much I make. And then when I try to control how much I make, you usually fuck yourself. And you usually take less, profits of what you should have taken, or you take a bigger loss than what you should have taken because you try to manipulate your plan. The best plan is the one you say before you get in. The worst one's the one right after you get in. So that's something I always try to tell myself because we want to be happy, man. And I've met traders who do really well, but they're not happy. Like they're stressed out all the time because I'm in a position overnight and I may wake up to $200,000. I'm like, why are you even doing that? Like, what's the point? Like it's not. And you just got to ask yourself those questions. And how do you want to live every day? And I didn't want to be stressed every day and pissed at myself, even when I make money. That's stupid. I want to be happy and find a way to judge myself in a game that we have no control of, and that's our actions.
That's so well said.
Yeah, and I mean, and you're a businessman as well. You have multiple businesses, multiple things going on. Do you think that having those multiple streams of income has really helped you level out over time, or do you think that you were naturally going that way even if you were just trading?
That's a good question. It definitely helped me dramatically. It helped me personally. And that's why I talk about it. I'm like, hey, if you can find multiple sources of income, I think you should. I think everyone should. And almost every trader I meet, they don't just make money trading, by the way. I mean, most of them have other revenue sources of some sort. And because this is a hard game. So I think, yes, I would like to say eventually I would have able to get to that point with no other stream income, but I don't know. And I wasn't there and I didn't have that life, right? Instead, once I quit in 2019, I mentioned on my show when I quit, I was trying to find a job and I found a part-time gig where someone else paid me money to run their show on their podcast. It was just some podcast audio only. It was real estate. And I picked that up, and it helped me make income on the side, right? So like that to me showed me immediately, like the reason I did that too, and I gotta find that episode. The reason I did that too is because remember I mentioned right when I decided to get the job back, I started to do well because I already knew what to do. I just kept on freaking messing up my own self because I wanted to make money. But once I said, all right, I have this big income, about to accept this job, it's going to come in the door, start to trade well because I didn't care about the money. So then when I quit for the last time, I picked up a part-time gig right away because I was like, I need to have something to just cover the bare minimum. So that way I could just keep making money. And so that's what I did. And then I was like, why am I doing anything different? Because then I started to meet other traders because I didn't meet anyone yet. And then I started to meet people. And I was like, oh, they make money doing this and this and this. You know what? I remember reading all the books. I'm big into success reading, like Think and Grow Rich, all that stuff, just like everyone else. And they all talk about multiple streams of income. And so I'm like, you know what? That's my goal now. And so that's what my goal has been since. And I think that's dramatically helped me for sure.
Yeah, that's great. And I think as well, because trading to me, and like you touched on how you sort of started with the podcast with your old firm as well, but like I think it's also like you're testing out your skills and your growing skills, and why refine yourself to one, because we all have multiple interests. And we were talking about this just before you joined us this morning. Like the three of us, like this year, obviously doing this, like we are busier than we've ever been before. But equally, like we're being challenged in like multiple directions. But we're all like, we're just loving it, and it's just like an absolute blessing. I think that's. Chris, that was you and I chatting about.
Yeah.
That's fair, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it's fun too. You get to meet new people, you get to learn new skills, and it's just such a win-win. And a lot of times, like the research that we're doing or the people that we're talking to, it helps us in our own trading. So it's all like within that same kind of like universe where it's not something that takes us away from what we love to do day to day, but it's just like a different part of that, and it helps us to become more well-rounded, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's also like the whole world is interested in the stock market, but it doesn't mean they're all interested in trading. So to be able to talk to somebody in the trading sense is great. Like people that you talk to in the stock market, all they'll ask is what they should buy. Like like they're just all like just
dude, that's a fun.
like, what
That's
should I
not a
buy?
fun
What should I do?
conversation.
Crypto's moving now, right? Should I buy crypto? Should I buy AI? But now, like, you could actually talk to traders about more than that, like sector rotations and how long it could last, and what's moving, and strategies and ideas. And like, you can't talk to your father or family about that if they're not in trading. So like, this is also good to, get your mind off of like P&L and what you've been doing throughout your day on your own, and just talk about different strategies or ideas. So it's great.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I think the ideas that you just mentioned, like strategies, I think you'll absorb so much over time that like I'll remember things that I talked to a trader like 2-3 years ago, and I'm like, oh man, like I should start using that. Like it'll just hit me now. So like you guys will probably experience the same as you talk to more and more traders. Like things will hit you later as you're creating new strategies, and you'll be like, oh, I can actually use what I learned a while back on this one. So
absolutely. But it is one thing I will say, on a funny note, like Judy, you mentioned everyone trades. So like I said, I was in Tenerife last week, and I met on the golf course. I was playing by myself, and I was paired up with two Americans, and they were stockbrokers. And I was just thinking, like, what are the absolute chances? They're from Boston as well. And I was thinking, I've been to Boston. And before I know it, we're like on the 9th talking about AMC and GME. Sorry, just a side note. I said earlier that we were talking about full-time trading. And obviously you touched on, obviously, you quitting your job 3 times. I think you are in a good place. I know you won't. It sounds like you don't want to be called the expert, but I do think you're in a great place to advise people on when is the best time to go full-time. And perhaps, and then an adjunct to that question is, should that be your main motivation to go full-time?
Man, this is a hard question because for me personally, it's different, but not, I gotta understand everyone's in a different situation and has different goals. Just in general, I think you should, whether you pursue trading or not, I think you should always have some type of income coming in, period. That's just my opinion now. I think you should just pick up a small gig. You could do remote job. You could do an assistant, virtual VR assistant, 20, 25, $30 an hour. And at least just make ends meet while you're focusing on this, because this is the hardest thing. I quit my job 3 times. Like, that wasn't the plan. The plan was 2016. I'm done. I'm never coming back. No, I came back, and that was tough. And to go full time, like, that's why I failed. Like, it was so hard to just rely on one source of income, to go from something to literally nothing and negative. Like, I lost money my first year. Like, I'm not even making money. Like, so that is demoralizing for me. It was like, for me, it was like, I questioned who I was. That's all psychology then, back then. Like, I was judging myself on what I made, like, all that stuff. Like, most men are raised to be providers, and I was not providing anymore, and that was really hard for me. So, like, I think if you're gonna go full time, really, really answer first, find out what your strategy is, and if your strategy was like mine, like, it's mostly the morning, why even go full time? Like, what's the point? Like, why not just make some money and then pick up another job and make some more money, and then keep making both, and maybe chase another dream if you only have to trade an hour. Last time I checked, everyone's different, but I pursued trading first off because I was looking for a way for freedom. And a lot of people end up pursuing trading, finding out they love it, and then they at least find some success. But then the other half, they'll find out they love it, but then they find some success, and then they stuck there all the time, and they don't have freedom anymore. So, like, I don't want to get lost in that. So, like, ask yourself what your goals are. My goal is to have a family, which I do now, thanks be to God, and they're over there. And I think is so I can spend time with them and have like an hour a day of trading or 2 hours, and I'm done. Like, that was always my goal. So, like, if you want to trade all day, then hey, nothing wrong with that. If that's what you like to do, go for it. But I think you should have some type of source, small income on the side to help you grow. And then if you're more interested like these guys, and you would create your own show and grow something while you're doing it, like I did, you could do that too. Like, you could do so many things. But to rely only on trading, I know those traders. It's great when things are great, but when things are not, it's so fast how quickly even traders. I've personally met traders who've been profitable for 10 years straight. They relied only on the trading, and on the 10th year is whenever they stopped trading because something happened and they just couldn't trade ever again. So, like, it can happen to anybody. I don't care who you are. And so I think you should have a way to help yourself and understand, be humble. Like, hey, like, I could lose this at any moment. So let me at least build other things around me. So, like, if I have a bad week, a bad month, a bad year, it's not going to destroy me, because traders have bad years all the time. You guys met traders on your show who probably had a bad year, and they're still profitable throughout their decade of trading. So, like, you can't let that, really ruin you. And it can, if that's all you're relying on, because you could get really in your head.
Yeah, that's well said. And I do think there's like a nice halfway house between, and I think particularly perhaps it's a bit different for Americans as well, because I guess from my understanding is you get your health insurance often through an employer, and that will obviously save you money. So I do think there's probably like a nice halfway house, like you said, where, like, I don't know, if you're going to trade in the morning, okay, you can get a part-time job in every afternoon or whatever, or like you touched on, you had a part-time job helping, with the podcast and things like that. Like, it's kind of the same for us three as well. So no, I think that's well said. And and honestly, you just covered pretty much everything I wanted to talk about with full-time trading. Like, so just perfect. And like, and it is different for everyone. And like, but there's definitely elements that I think that probably will ring true for a lot of people in terms of, like, probably good to have some savings and things like that.
Oh yeah, I had a year's savings every time I quit my job. Wow. Every time I saved up a year, quit. And I talk about that when I was quitting. To watch it back now, it's crazy. But like, I did, because I had a really rough conversation the third time. I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna keep quitting no matter what. Like, I'm never going to stop doing this. Period. Like, it's not about money anymore to me. It's only about what I like to do and how do I create a life around what I enjoy. And I told my wife that in a we had a very serious conversation, and that was when she also saw like I'm never gonna stop. So even if I blow up today, like if I lose everything today, like I'm not gonna stop. Like this is something I really love doing and I have a passion for. So
it's amazing. It's genuinely like it's the similarities that between you and I. Obviously, it's not about me at all today, but like they are there in terms of like I've had those conversations, and she's like, "No, I've been by your side for 2 years through this shit. You're not like you're not stopping now. Keep going." Yeah, no, it's funny, and it's probably a testament to having supportive people in your life, whether that's like like a Scott type of mentor or your partner, or like Nate, for example, has always been like really incredibly supportive of me. I'm sure you two can say the same. So I think that's probably a testament to that as well. It would be probably a little bit remiss of us not to talk about. I mean, we're recording on the 21st of May, so we have to probably get your take on current market events and Meme Mania coming back. Like, it's Meme Mania. I don't know if it's like 2.0, 3.0. I'm not sure what version we're on at the moment, but obviously last week GME AMC went pretty crazy. So, what's your take on this?
Whenever it was Sunday, I was laying and we were watching TV, me and my wife, and I was on Twitter and I saw Roaring Kitty's tweet. Like I was like pretty much instantly I saw it. And I was like, wait a minute. What the hell? What is this? I was like, no way, homeboy's back. So I immediately looked at my wife and I'm like, babe, Roaring Kitty's back. So I'm going to be like, I got to be willing to lose tomorrow. I got to be willing to lose tomorrow. Like there's a potential play. And she goes, who's Roaring Kitty? and I go, don't worry. I was like, but you remember that movie GameStop about the whole dumb money? And she's like, what movie? And I was like, no, don't worry about it. All that play was to me, it was just, I wasn't treating it like 2020, but I was treating it like this thing's going to move. And if it does, I wouldn't be part of this action. And I got to figure out a way to position myself to not get shaken out and to also be willing to lose and not be worried about it. And I also know that, my plan was about 3 days. I can make the potential 3-yard gain, but it actually happened in 1 day. So like that play, to me, it's just like, I'm not thinking like, oh, we're in meme stocks. Like, oh no, we are, sure. But like, I'm not searching for all the meme stocks. That's not how I trade. Like, I'm searching for the setup, right? And so like, that was a setup to me, not because of my setups per se, but because of history and how I've traded GameStop a long time ago and how I learned from missing the long side. Like I missed the entire long side last time. And so I basically just remember what it did last time. Remember the possibility of it even, happening again. And then pre-market, it kind of set up for me and ended up taking my position. And yeah, so.
Nice. No, I think that's a great education as well. And I mean, I'm still missing the long side and just waiting for something stupid to happen. And then absolutely, trying to
I missed the short side because I was long. So that kind of pissed me off. But I took gains at the peak, and then I held a small piece, and I talked to Maya Lee, and he was shorting it, and I was like, I'm holding this small piece. I think we might get another squeeze, and I was wrong on that. No, the small piece, just small gain on that end. But that's the other thing, man. Like Maya Lee, like I'm sure you guys know who that is. Mm-hmm. But like you guys talk to other traders, you're talking to each other right now, and it's so cool that I can talk to another trader that I respect, and we be in completely different ends, and we could both make money too. And I think that's so cool about trading. Like it's so cool. But a lot of new traders don't know that. Like they think if I hear Maya say this, I need to do that. Like I need to get out of this. And that's not the case. Like everyone can trade completely different. Like
that was my experience when I joined IU, and Nate was on the other side of everything I took. So I'm still like, I'm only long since I started. He shorts a lot of the things that move to the long side. So like, it's just, if the setup's still there, you never stopped out, never gave you a reason to stop out, he could profit while you're still in that long also. Like, It's not like I get out and then he shorts it. Like, he's shorting it while I'm still long. He makes $1 move. He gets out the same day. And then the next day it goes up 2. Yep. So like, he just, in the interim of me in my long, he just profited on the short side. It's like, that shouldn't have to worry you if your rules aren't broken. If you never stopped out, you shouldn't stop out just because he said something. And like, if you want, you can. If you do, if you do scalp short, you could take that even with your long, and people do that. I'm sure like people will take advantage. They have like a bigger picture idea in mind on something, and like it's overextended, but they have like they're looking weeks or months out. They
Right.
could take that short in between, and then sell that and continue on their long. But yeah, that's what I experienced also, and it's a big misconception that people
Yes.
have.
Dude, I remember I don't know what year it was, but it was the beginning of my career. Tim Bowen, I love that guy, but
Mhm.
I would ask him for advice. It was when I was like so new. I'd be like in a play long, and I suck at long. So at the beginning. So I'd be in a play long, and I'd be like, "Hey, what did you think of this?" And he'd be like, "Oh no, I wouldn't be in that." And I'd get out for a loss. And as soon as I got out, and I remember explicitly, as soon as I got out, that thing just rocketed. And I was like, that's when I got rid of all chat rooms. I was like, I'm done. I was like, I'm done asking people for advice. I'm just gonna do my own stuff. And yeah, so thanks, Tim Bowen.
Now you mentioned that, like any communities that you're in every day,
Oh,
like who do you speak to, your circles, like you have
yeah.
circles, or it's just Scott, old man Scott.
Oh man, Sky I talked to, like
Love that. Oh, man,
he's literally like I call him a best friend now. Like we've talked for many years now,
Yeah.
sometimes every single day. Right now, I'd say like every couple of days we'll just touch base. So he's definitely one of my circles. Nate, every once in a while, like he'll hit me up for like a week straight. We'll just like talk, and then all of a sudden he'll just go away for a month. But like so every once in a while I'll get like in Maya. Shout out to Maya, he's a great friend, and he's helped me out a ton. And what I mean by help me out is just talking, just having a conversation. Like, man, bro, I broke my rules today and kind of paid for it. And then Maya would tell me like, what, it happens, bro. Like it happens to all of us. Like we'll break rules. It's just next day will be different. Like just knowing that you have that type of support is really good rather than the other way around, right? Like, oh, you broke your rules. You shouldn't break your rule. Like it should be more like, nah, it happens, bro. Like we just got to get back at it. So that's been very helpful. But like I only hang out really in my own Discord, but I'm not even my Discord's not like a chat room. It's just more of a hang out with other traders and meet other traders. And if you share something, hopefully you give value. It's not like, hey, check out this run and check out this run. It's not like that. But it's just a free chat room to hang out. And so I'm in there, usually sometimes doing live on there when I feel like it. Again, I don't like to have a job, so I don't want to have a schedule, so I just kind of do it. But other than that, yeah. So I do talk with, like Cody. I talk to a lot of guys, man. I can't really answer that. And my bad if I miss some of the guys out. I'm not missing. There's just, I'm playing phone tag with Scott Manza right now, and I will call you back. So like, yeah. So I talk to a lot of traders because I'll probably talk with you guys too. Because like at the end of the day, what's important to me is building relationships with a lot of other like-minded people. And the more relationships I can have, the better I become. And I think it's the better everyone becomes because you'll start to bounce ideas, and you'll start to learn and have each other's back and understand what's truly important. And in this world, it's hard to find good people in the trading world that you really vibe with. Because at the end of the day, like a lot of your real friends back in the day don't trade. And so they're working right now and they're not here creating a show.
Yeah. And it's part of life, I think. And Godfather Stan he chats about this quite a bit in terms of like your circle has to continue to develop and grow, and you have to meet new people in order to grow yourself. So yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, shout out to Maya. He's on the list. I've actually been chatting to him today as well. We mainly chat golf, but he's coming on soon. I think he's going away for a bit. It's Lucas's birthday. I think they're going away to celebrate, and then afterwards, yeah, he's coming on as well. So yeah, now we've mentioned him. That's a contract, right? It's gonna happen.
And then the next time you talk to Scott Manzo, ask him how his ice machine is, because he has like the Ferrari of ice machines.
Yeah, he's got like
telling
a
us about a couple of weeks
ice
ago.
machine or something like that, and I couldn't believe it. Like, yeah, that was a great point. And Scott will be watching. Scott loves. He says, "I really like the show, as long as it's under an hour." So we're under an hour. So Scott will have. He still will have heard all of this. Speaking of coming up to an hour, though, I think it's probably a good time to move on to our quick fire question section. But first, congratulations to last week's contest winner. What has been a key takeaway from the episode, or your biggest aha moment in your trading? These names, These names are never get any easier to say. Yugina Charia 2150. I mean, actually, sorry, I made that one quite easy actually. I mean, I think that's just did you pick that one out, Chris? You just like the nice message. I like it.
Yeah,
Nice,
he's
very sincere and motivated trader.
He's very
he's
consistent
been
Yogi.
commenting on almost every video and just really supportive throughout everything. So want to make sure he gets a shirt.
Yeah, and so this week it's a shirt, right?
Yes, yeah, correct.
And right, sorry, we should have gone through this. And who emailing to get that?
Tyler at investorsunderground.com.
So Yugina Charia, yeah, email. You will be one of the few people. So email Tyler at investorsunderground.com. You'll be one of the few people with is it a Trading Takes t-shirt as well, right?
It is.
Oh wow, you'll be there's like 10 in the world at the moment. I think so. You'll be one of the few people with a Trading Takes t-shirt. And Nate, honestly, ask Nate. Everyone like when you see this video, tweet Nate and ask him about that t-shirt, because genuinely he's been like, I had such a big day, I couldn't figure out why, and then I took my hoodie off and I had a Trading Takes t-shirt on. So there's something there. And we will be doing the same. So exactly the same this week. Comment. I mean, Alex has dropped so many gems. So comment, key takeaways, just anything you liked, or just be Mr. Consistent and comment every week something nice. And you've just seen that Chris will notice that. Right, quick fire. Now, I love this question. Did Scott say it was his ice machine? Because it cost more than $1,000. What has been the best purchase you've made for under $1,000 recently?
You're talking to me right now, right?
Yeah, this is all
okay.
You. Yeah. I've done every week. I say ice bath, so people are bored of that.
When's my best purchase under $1,000 recently?
Well, I mean, yeah, plus
year to date.
I mean, I'm looking at that neon light. That's cool.
This right here, and Nate's gonna laugh because this changed literally like it definitely changed my life personally. But this is it's called Brain Tap. I think it's under 1,000. I think it's like 800, something like that, 600. If you're in the meditation, I am, and this will take your meditation. Let's say I now meditate usually 20 minutes when I do it. To get to that level of meditation, like at 20 minutes, I'm like really deep. Around 15 is when I go like real deep, and I'm like, oh, everyone's different. But for me, around 15 is like I'm completely in a whole different space. With that headset, I get there in like 3 minutes. So then my 20-minute is like over like that, because you don't even realize time is like, it's just weird. And so like you really expedite your meditation, and for me, it really helps me like center myself and see things in perspective. So, I love it, man. Brain Tap, it's the best, but it's not the cheapest. It's the cheapest bit design ever. The most expensive technology headset, but cheapest design. Don't fall apart. It's crappy looking, but it works amazing. That's what you're paying for.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
It's cool.
Never had that one before. I love it.
Yep.
And I like this question as well. If you had to lose $1 million as fast as possible in the markets, how would you do it?
Like lose and never lose. Like it's gone completely. Is that what you mean?
Lose. Yeah.
Lose. Okay, so I'm actually gonna lose it. I mean, the easiest way to do that is just buy an OTC stock and just buy a low floater that has no float, like a small float, and just buy it, and then that's it. And I think you'll go to zero.
Once you go to zero,
you could buy an option at the 359 on a Friday.
I don't trade options, but yes, do that too.
Yeah, or you can invest really heavily in meme
coin. Yeah,
but
I mean, it could pay off. Yeah, you could be super rich.
It could. I mean, this is a great question, for you. What's a great piece of advice that you've received? I know you've received loads, so maybe like something recent, fairly recent. That sounds.
I'd say it's I mean, everyone. It's too generic, but it's the truth. I think at the end of the day, like not caring about what anyone else thinks, period. I think that's the biggest thing at the end of the day. So, yeah.
No, when it comes to generic like advice, I think the more generic you like, it's generic for a reason. In terms of like, it's it stood the test of time. It's still being said hundreds, whatever years later. Like, so I think all the cliches in life, like you only live once, and
Yep.
all that, they're all like, they're cliches because they're ultimately
Because they're true for the most part.
This is a good one as well. I'm particularly interested in who the non-trader is. Who is your dream guest to interview? One trader and one non-trader.
Non-trader is Bruce Lee. He's dead though. But trader, and I'm looking at you, brother, and you already know who I'm about to say. And I don't care. I've been asking you forever, and I'm cool with it. Lucas, been trying to get him on the show. We've talked privately and had great conversations, and I'm just like, one day.
Yeah, do you know, I was actually thinking that mine. I was thinking about this question earlier, and I was thinking mine might be Lucas as well. Like, I chat to Lucas as well, and like we hung out at Trades for a Cause. He's like a really cool guy. I haven't asked him or anything like that, but like, yeah. And the other one for me is, I mean, this is probably a bit generic as well. The Rock. I don't know why. Like, I think he'd be cool.
I love The Rock.
I love The Rock. He's like, I used to like when I was younger, like I used to love WWF, and like I used to love The Rock. So I'm like, yeah, it would be him for sure. What about you two, Chris, Judah? What would you go for? Who would you go for?
Man, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's too many people.
I would say he's passed away now, but Charlie Munger would have been an amazing one. I really resonate with the way that he thinks and the way that he condenses every elaborate thought he has down to just a couple of words, and I really like that style. But him or Buffett would be incredible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Back, it would probably be somebody like a trader from the pre-1950s. Well, they're dead.
Jesus.
Like most of them are dead, but like either Livermore or Darvis or any of those like main swing traders. But O'Neill just passed away. But like any of those, those real heavy stock market traders from like the 1900s.
Yeah, cool.
Like Kulamagi would be cool, but he's still living and he has interviews all over. Like I could like
he doesn't have too many interviews though.
He has a few, and then he has his own videos, his whole YouTube channel. So it's like it would have to be somebody that I can't really get any more info out of.
Yeah.
So it'd be somebody
that makes
anymore.
sense.
Yeah, I mean, Kulamagi would be. I don't know. Has he been on your show? I don't think he has.
Nah, he said yes, but I mean, unless I go fly out over there, I might. I don't know. I'm waiting on it.
You might have
We'll
to.
see.
You can jump on the yacht. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
that would be. And Sweden's actually it's a great place as well. Like
If I go, I'll let you guys know. Maybe y'all go too.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm only a couple hours away. I'm coming up. I'm jumping on there. Right, Alex. Thank you so honestly. Thank you so much. It was, I mean, like today, just apart, like in terms of your insights, and I think one thing is clear as well. Like in terms of like that, talking to traders all the time, you've thought about these like questions and these insights. They're just so deep, and it was just. I mean, I just had, I was an absolute blast chatting to you. Lastly,
Awesome.
I mean, I think most people will know where you are, but just in case, where can they find you?
You can find me at bethetrader.com. We got a brand new website finally, thank God. Or Be This Trader on YouTube or Be The Story. And I do have a big thing launching coming up soon. It'll probably be out by the time this is out. So definitely check us out there. So see you then.
Cool.
Thanks,
you,
Alex.
Chris.
Thank you.
Always, Chris, you're wrong way. Chris, last word is always on you.
No, this was fantastic. We just really appreciate you coming on, Alex.
Thanks, bro. Thank you, guys.
Right,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you. See you soon, guys. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to this latest episode of Trading Takes. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this conversation, please check out some of others with some great traders. Thank you for watching.